Today, we're going to unravel a really fascinating legal mystery from way back in 1948. And it's one of those cases that makes you stop and ask a pretty fundamental question. What actually happens when our laws don't agree with each other?
So what does happen when two official rules seem to say the exact opposite? Well, we're going to dive right into that by looking at a real-life case where even the judges were scratching their heads. It's a great story, actually. It starts as a simple dispute, but spirals into this huge legal puzzle, and it's all because of two competing instructions, right there in the law books. And believe me, this case took a wild ride through the legal system. I mean, look at this path. It starts in one court, gets bounced to another, then back again, and then it starts climbing the ladder to higher courts. It's like a game of legal hot potato. And with every single step, a new layer of confusion gets piled on, turning what should have been a simple issue into a massive headache. So let's go back to the very beginning and see how it all started. All right, so our story kicks off in a local court in a place called Lagoyan, and it all begins with a pretty common problem, something that can and does pop up in courtrooms all the time. So you've got this judge, Federico Paredes. He's looking at a case, and he realizes he has a conflict of interest. He's actually related to one of the people in the case. Now, to be fair and impartial, he knows he absolutely cannot be the one to decide it. So he does what he thinks is the right thing, follows the procedure he believes is correct, and that one decision is what kicks off this whole legal drama. And on the surface, his solution seemed totally straightforward, right? He recognized he was disqualified, he looked up the rules, Section 73 of the Code of Civil Procedure, and it told him exactly what to do. Transfer the case to the Justice of the Peace in the next town over, La Paz. Simple enough. The case goes to La Paz, a new judge hears it, a verdict is issued, and boom, problem solved. Or so it seemed. Yeah, it really wasn't. And here's where the plot thickens. A new judge, Mariano Tuason, takes over, back in the original court in Lagayan. He starts going through the files, and he gets to this case. He looks at what Judge Paredes did and just stops. He sees what he believes is a massive legal mistake. He basically declares that the whole transfer, the whole verdict from the other court, was illegal, invalid, the whole thing.
Okay, so this is the heart of the whole problem. You've got two different rules. Rule number 1, Section 73, is what the first judge used. It says a disqualified judge can just transfer the case himself. But rule number 2, Section 211, which is what the new judge is pointing at, says nope, not so fast. It says only a higher-up, a district judge, has the power to make that transfer. So you have two official laws, two totally different procedures. Which one is right? Who do you listen to? So now you've got a real mess. Two judges, two different but apparently valid laws. What do? Well, you appeal. The case had to go up the ladder. It was now someone else's job to untangle this knot and figure out which rule was the one to follow. And just when you think it can't get any more complicated, it does. The next judge in line, Judge Siniza, takes a look at the case, and he doesn't agree with either of the first two judges. He comes up with a whole third theory. He says, you're both wrong. Both of those old laws you're citing are obsolete. We should be using the new rules of court. So now, get this. We have 3 judges and 3 totally different opinions on what the law says. Incredible. Okay, this whole mess eventually lands on the desk of the Supreme Court. And their job here is so much bigger than just picking a winner. They need to lay down the law, literally. They need to explain the process, the toolkit that all judges are supposed to use when they run into a situation like this, where laws seem to be fighting with each other. It's time for a masterclass in legal interpretation. So what's the first tool in their toolkit? It's a principle called harmonization. Basically, before you throw your hands up and say, these laws conflict, your first job is to try to make them work together. The court assumes that lawmakers weren't trying to be confusing. So is there a way to read these two rules so they can both exist peacefully? Maybe one applies here and the other applies there. That's always step 1. But what if they just can't work together? What if they really truly are in conflict? Well, then the court brings out the big guns. It's a powerful principle with a fancy Latin name, Generalia Specialibus non Derogant. Don't worry about the Latin. What it means is simple and brilliant. A specific law beats a general one. If you have one law that's written for a very, very specific situation, it's going to override a law that's just a general all-purpose rule. It's like this specialist rule wins against the jack-of-all-trades rule. And watching them apply this is just perfect. The court laid out the two laws side by side. Section 73, the one our first judge used, was all about one single thing: what to do when a judge is disqualified.
That's about as specific as you can get. Then you look at Section 211. That one was way more general. It covered all kinds of things, a judge being on vacation, a court being empty, you name it. So since this case was about a disqualification, the specific rule, Section 73, was the one that fit like a glove. The choice was clear.
So, by using these classic, time-tested principles, the Supreme Court was able to cut through all the confusion and find a clear, logical answer. And the answer was, the first judge was right all along. After this entire journey, the Supreme Court concluded that Judge Paredes did exactly what he was supposed to do. He saw his specific situation, the disqualification, and he used the specific law that was written for that exact scenario. And so, with that final ruling, they reversed the decisions of the lower courts. The original transfer was declared valid, which meant the verdict from the La Paz court was back in effect. Case closed. The puzzle was solved. You know, what's so cool about this isn't just the story of one case from 1948. The real takeaway is seeing the elegant logic that our legal system uses to keep things from just falling apart into chaos. It shows you that the law isn't just a bunch of random opinions. It's a system built on principles designed to find a clear path forward even when the map seems to have conflicting directions. And really, this case from way back then shows us something so important. The rules for how to read the law are just as crucial as the laws themselves. It's this toolkit that lets a legal system survive for generations, taking old laws and applying them to new problems. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on.